again, this is Ellen Cruz, and today is June 25th. And today we are in the pretty offices of Michael Carbone. And Michael, why don't you introduce yourself and tell us what area of practice and what do you do?
So, my name is Michael Carbone. I'm an attorney and I'm the owner and managing attorney at my firm Carbone Law here in Staten Island. My practice areas are focused on contracts, business, employment, and immigration law.
Okay, and when did you start your practice?
I started my practice May 1st, 2019, so it's very fresh, very new.
So it just turned one.
It did just turn one, yeah, during the pandemic.
During pandemic, and how was that experience?
It's been wild. To be honest, it's not at all what I expected going into my first year. You know, I started my practice from scratch with no clients, and my biggest hurdles to overcome were, where am I going to find clients? What do I need to do to bring in business? How do I grow my business? Who do I speak to? Where do I get involved? And I was on that path. I was like on that journey, and then boom, it hit. And by middle of March, everything started shutting down. And so it was really weird I had posted on Facebook and social media about celebrating my 1 year anniversary of my business, but it was like, I'm alone, everything's crazy, every business is shut down, everything is slowed down. So it's nothing that I could have prepared for at all.
I understand. And can you just go into more details as to how your practice suffered? I know you mentioned that everything was shut down, but is there anything specific, maybe like a list of things that were completely discontinued? How was it impacted?
So my practice is 100% transactional. So I'm drafting contracts, I'm setting up businesses, advising employers, employees, and I actually thought for a moment that I was going to survive this, because as the courts were shutting down, I'm like, oh, I don't practice in court, like I'm not going to have to worry about this. And before I knew it, all my clients started pulling back. And so what ended up happening is businesses were shutting down, things were closing, and so the work that I was doing kind of became irrelevant at the moment. Like I actually, two of my clients, I helped set up a business for them separately, and the nature of their business, they're required to be at their clients' homes. That's not going to happen. That's not something that they could do. And so I had started working on the contracts for their businesses, and both of them at the same time said, they gave me a call, I can't move forward. It doesn't make sense for me right now to really spend the money on this because I have no idea what's going to happen. And so I'm now in a position where, like, of course, I understand that. Like, I can't put my client in a position where I'm saying, no, like, I can't lead them in a direction that's not in their best interest, So, of course, they pull back, and then with everything shutting down, my phone would stop. The phone completely stopped ringing, and I would say I billed March. The money that I made in March and April was mostly from work that I had done earlier in the year, and then by May, there was nothing. It was absolutely nothing. No calls, no work, nothing.
So I just have two follow-up questions about what you said, and then I want to jump into something else.
Sure.
You said that you were speaking to your clients, and I'm assuming that this was via phone or video conferencing?
Yeah, by phone.
So now, did you use video conferencing at this point?
I've actually used video conferencing before.
Okay.
A lot of my practice, most of my practice is done out of my home office, and I get to use spaces like this one that we're in right now when I need to meet with clients or there's a bigger issue that needs to be addressed where we have to meet in person. But for the most part, everything was being handled over the phone or via.
Because
Zoom.
my I guess my second question was it hard for you to kind of switch over to the virtual appearances? Because a lot of people experience difficulties learning Zoom. What is Zoom? Is that a Facebook site?
Right.
And basically it came out of nowhere. And so was it hard for you to switch over to this new system of communication?
Honestly, no. You know,
No,
the funny thing is when I launched my practice, I said, I want to use all the latest technologies that they have. I want to run a paperless practice. I want to have a practice management software that lets me run my firm from anywhere. I have my iPad with me. I can run my firm from pretty much anywhere. And so I kind of took on all these technologies like Zoom and like DocuSign, things that let me operate without ever actually having to meet. I actually haven't met some of my clients in person because of the stuff that I use to make not only my life easier, but their life easier. So for me, it actually wasn't hard at all. And the funny thing is you know, in conversations with colleagues throughout all of this, they go, "Oh, this probably wasn't that hard for you." And I was like, honestly, no, because I've been working from home. I've been using these technologies. I've been doing all this stuff. That wasn't the hard part. The hard part was everything shut down. Businesses aren't open, stores aren't, I mean, other than grocery stores and stuff like that. Like, nothing's open, no one's doing anything, everyone's at home. So really for me, it was just like getting business, getting clients, keeping my business afloat. All the technology stuff was, I was already in it, you know? So for me, it wasn't an issue.
I think that's amazing. So at this point, we are in phase 2 and things are starting to reopen slowly but surely. Now, do you have a strategy as to how, it seems like you got the technology stuff down, so like it works to your advantage, exactly what you wanted, but do you have a plan? What are you gonna do with regards to like getting back on track with getting clients?
Yeah, I mean, that's tough. That's definitely tough. I've been spending the last couple of weeks really trying to focus on how I can do that. And it starts with having conversations, you know.
Right.
I've stayed in contact with current clients and just spoken with them and said, look, I know things are bad right now. I know that we can't really do anything right now as it pertains to your case, but I just want to stay in touch with you and be in conversation and see, you know, what works and what doesn't work. So I think, you know, a lot of my successes came from meeting people in person, going to networking events, you know, being a part of bar association events and just getting my name out there and meeting people. And that has all been severely kneecapped, you know? It's like that, it took me, you know, between 6 and 8 months to figure out that that's what was working, you know? It wasn't until I started going to more networking events and meeting other attorneys and talking about my practice that there was traction and people started calling me. So now I have to reinvent the wheel, you know? Like I have to figure out what it will take. And, you know, I do see here and there, and the phone is starting to ring again. People are starting to come out of their, you know, proverbial caves that they've been living in for 3 months. And I think things will come back, but how I kind of change things and figure out how to bring business back, I'm still trying to figure that out. It's not easy.
As we all, that's what we're doing.
Yeah.
On a daily basis, unfortunately. Do you have any advice for others as to how to navigate this complex change at this point? Because I feel like just like we had a change shutting down, that was a change. Now the change is reopening.
Right.
Because we are not going back to normal. We're going back, no, we're moving forward to something new. So what, if any, advice do you have for anybody moving forward?
I would say 2 things. I think it's important to embrace the technology. I think the legal industry and so many industries were heading in this direction. And the pandemic kind of forced our hands. You know, e-filings, that was coming up. It started with federal courts, now state courts are embracing it. You know, having a hearing over Zoom, you know, if you're just appearing in court for a calendar hearing, like why do I have to sit in court for 2 hours to wait for my case to be called when I can hop on Zoom, talk with the judge, get things resolved, you know? So embracing the technology and trying to just have patience, you know?
I mean, like, I just want to interject something.
Sure.
So I'm all for technology, but in my mind, for example, I have this difficult scenario. So, like, for example, it's difficult for me to imagine having jury trials.
See, my opinion on that's a dicey topic here. How do you keep jurors on Zoom focused with that? Like, it's one thing to keep them sequestered and keep them in court. It's like that person's in their home, their child is there, their computer is there, they can look the case details up on the internet. That's a nightmare. I think that side is gonna require a lot of research, a lot of studies, but you know, a motion hearing or you know just a conference between attorneys with the judge, like that, to me, that's something that can be handled over Zoom.
Okay, so I actually agree with you because I feel like unless we have new technology that allows better control over situations like jury trials, we shouldn't be moving forward with that.
Right.
But something simple, yes, we have been doing that, we have been handling that, so I agree with you in that sense. So you said you have 2 points.
Yeah, and I think the other thing is communication is so powerful. I think we need to stick together and attorneys need to stay in contact with one another. One of the things that I've been doing is every week, every 2 weeks, I get on a Zoom call with a couple of attorneys and we just chat. And you know, a couple months back it was, you guys have any work? No. What have you been doing? Remodeling my garage, you know, playing with the kids.
It's not funny.
No, but you know,
No,
it's like a lot of us are in a place where we have no work. We tried out.
Right.
Everything is closed. So we spent time with those closest to us, or we took up hobbies. I mean, I am on my 75th day streak of practicing Spanish. I started using the Duolingo app because I was losing my mind. But to get back to my point, you know, like communication is so powerful. And so if we all talk to each other and we strategize and we work together and we see what works and what doesn't work, that will help rebuild the legal community. You know, having those conversations and saying, you know, what have you tried that worked? What works for you? Because it's not working for me. That to me is invaluable. You can't pay for that. And I've been fortunate enough to be a part of a legal community that has embraced me. I think the culture of like, you know, competition and stay away and, you know, everything is cutthroat is kind of shedding as time goes on. And so having these conversations and building these relationships is super important.
So now, that kind of makes me want to have a follow-up question. Do you think the culture is changing in terms of getting together and surviving this? What do you think is going to happen? Is there a chance that this culture will change and it will become more competition-y once everything starts to be open and everybody needs clients and all of a sudden you don't want to share that advice with somebody else because you want to make it work for yourself? Do you think that's something that might happen?
You know, I was thinking about this for a little bit today, and here's the way that I would like it to occur. It might not play out this way.
You know what, fair enough, because we cannot speculate.
Right. So, you know, I'm thinking, all right, what's going to happen when, like, we're at phase 4, everything, or whatever, phase 7, everything's fully open, and here come the bankruptcy, the foreclosures, the landlord-tenant, the eviction proceedings. There's going to be a massive influx of cases, and I'd like to imagine that a lot of firms, maybe small and mid-sized firms, are going to be overwhelmed. And so that's an opportunity to reach out to your colleagues and be like, hey, I know you do this too, or I know you do similar work. Like for me, I've drafted a ton of leases, and if a landlord-tenant attorney was like, I need some help, and he contacted me, like, I would jump right in. And it would not only help his firm and maybe move cases along quicker, give me an opportunity to make some income.
Right.
So I would like to have hope that, you know, I think there will be a massive influx of cases, and I think that it might be too much to handle. And I think if we get together and we work together, this might be an opportunity to kind of, I don't want to say reunite, that's not the right word, but bring attorneys together, because there is that historical culture of just like opposing counsel, opposing counsel, and how can I really like stick one in your side, and get at you, and like there's kind of no space for that any longer. I mean, it might come back, it might not, but really like we're all in this together. This is a once in a lifetime thing. This hasn't happened since 1918. Okay, so we're all going through it, and we're all trying to figure out what we can do to rise above and make things work. So yeah, maybe it'll be a little bit competitive, but realistically, I would like to have hope that we'll get together and work with each other and help each other out.
So do I. And in one of your answers, you mentioned the Richmond County Bar Association, and I just want to follow up on that. You are the member of the Richmond County Bar Association. And what, if any way, the Richmond County Bar Association was helpful to you during this whole pandemic crisis? So,
a couple of things. So they did an excellent job of just staying in constant contact with us through emails, through postings. I got all of Governor Cuomo's executive orders from the RCBA. I didn't get it from the state's website. I didn't get it from anywhere else. I waited for that email because like I knew they were coming, and then I knew that the RCBA was going to send it to me, and that directly impacted my business because the first thing that came up was remote notarization. Being able to notarize documents and sign documents and witness documents. I've done a couple of wills and trusts, and that ceremony occurs in person 100% of the time. And so having a process in place to handle that was super important. And then the other thing too is like, there were these, cooking with Chef
Jim,
right? Cooking with Chef Jim, and did I join in any of them? No, but they were there, and it was just like a resource to break up the monotony of like all of these Zoom calls. And then the last thing was, fortunately, there were a couple of game nights, and before all this hit, there was supposed to be an in-person like game night. I think it was like a escape the room.
It was supposed to be.
We were supposed to do an escape the room, and of course that got canceled. We couldn't do that, and we did a couple of. I was a part of both of them, but we did game nights where one of the attorneys pulled up one of these like computer games, and we all had buzzers on our phones, and we could all play it. But just having that relationship and that information come in was just great. It was kind of like that nudge, like we're still here,
Right.
we're here to help. There's only so much that we could do, but we're here. And then finally, as time has gone on, down getting the court opening procedures and any changes in judge rules and
Right.
stuff like that. So it's been incredibly helpful.
That's amazing. I completely agree with you. The information was invaluable. And also staying home, under stay-at-home orders, it could be very lonely. So when you have some interaction
Right.
with people, I think it's very helpful. So I don't believe I have any more questions left for you, but at this point, would you like to just add anything else that I haven't covered?
I mean, the only thing I'll say is like I think that we will survive this. I'd like to have hope.
I love your optimism.
I have to, like this is the wildest time in all of our lives. We could say on an international scale, this is the craziest time in all of our lives. So I have hope that things will turn around. We have great people working on vaccines. Things will come back to normal. And I'm excited. For getting back to some sense of normalcy.
Some sense of
May not be exactly the same. It may take a year, it may take 10 years, but
we'll get there.
when the day comes where I don't have to wear a mask anymore, that's gonna be a good day. I don't know when that will be, but it'll be a good day.
Well, social distancing.
Right.
Okay. Well, if you don't have anything else, I pretty much I covered things, and thank you so much. This was a great interview.
It's been a pleasure. Thank you so much.